Hello YouTube, this is Insane Monster doing a redo on What If Deku had Anti-Venom Part 2 due to some audio inconveniences that made the sound cut out. So yes, I got that all fixed, so let's begin. We begin with Deku and Toga going up to UA, being extremely nervous about getting to UA. Deku being nervous about it because he wants to live up to All Might and the power he gave him, and Toga being nervous given her past and how people treated her when her quirk was first revealed before bonding to Toxin. Though when they entered, they felt a sense of relief and confidence, feeling that they made the right choice to apply to UA after seeing it right in front of them. Though that experience was short-lived when they sensed something else. Anti-Venom and Deku were using their telepath ability to communicate with Toga and Toxin, saying, "You sense that, right?" They agreed, that they did, and decided to wait for everything to put it on hold for now until the exam was done. Luckily, what they feel, the person that they're sensing can't sense them because of their uniqueness as the Toxin and Anti-Venom are. So they just head in. Deku does similar, though a bit better than in canon in the theory test, due to a slight boost in intelligence from bonding to Anti-Venom, who was affected by not just the Soul Stone, but the Mind Stone as well. So yeah, though Anti-Venom and Toxin were told not to interfere or do anything to assist them in the theory test. So there's that. Which then they go to the meeting hall for the practical exam, where Deku still fanboys out a little bit and mutters, with Anti-Venom going, "Seriously, always fanboying out you." Then being called out by Ida, along with him questioning the paper on the zero-pointer, which is quickly shut down when Toga gives him a frickin' death glare. He instantly sits down. Deku tells her, "You really don't have to do that if somebody's yelling at me. It's okay." With Toga scoffing a little bit, saying, "Well, he pissed me off." And Toxin's saying, "Maybe we should at least give him a nice slap." Then Toga said, just remarked to Toxin, "No, no, not here, especially." So they go off to the exams and get ready. Start some stretching and such. And once Mike announced that the test was beginning in their block, Deku suited up instantly, using the one for all that he could use without harming himself. He went right into the fray, attacking and destroying robots non-stop, even slipping in from agent mode to monstrous mode. If you don't know what I mean, kind of like a slick Agent Venom look to the more monstrous with the teeth and with the fangs and long tongue kind of mode, tearing up the robots one after another, even slamming some into another robot and such. They figured that they racked up quite a bit of points, which is when the ground began to shake and the zero-pointer showed up. Everyone was running away, but before Deku could, they he heard someone crying out for help. When he turned, he saw a girl with brown hair stuck under some rubble. He instantly bolted over there and went full power on instinct, jumping right up to the robot, that, which even broke Deku's legs. Though with the adrenaline rush, he just forms a giant, big ass hammer on one of his arms for all out, one for all smash, destroying the head of the robot completely and breaking this arm in the process. While he was falling, uh, anti-venom hurries up and uses his tendrils to stick into the ground to catch them, and begins to immediately heal. While Deku was in pain, he said, "Sorry, I acted on instinct and wasn't thinking." Anti-venom said, "It's fine. I can fix this amount of damage without it being dangerous for me, but you have to be more careful. I can't just keep healing your bones just because you want to destroy a large enemy. We need to get strong enough to withstand the full power of this without destroying ourselves." Which is when, at this point, his bones are back to normal now, and he's able to stand on his own. He goes over to the girl and gets the rubble off of her, checking her leg, and it seems like it's broken. He extends his symbiote over her ankle and heals it. Then we get to where the exam ends, and Recovery Girl shows up. She figured that she would have to use her quirk on Ochako to heal her ankle, but when she got to her, it was already completely healed, and Deku already walked away. She didn't follow or ask anything because she was in complete shock while he walked away, and she didn't know where he went. As for Toga, she went really crazy, using symbiote blades to cut the robots to shreds, as well as tendrils to just pierce clean through them, or just full on crush them into the concrete. She just tore them up. On the way back, they talked about the theory test along with the practical exam. Deku brought up that he actually did save somebody from being crushed by that zero pointer, which Toga remarked that the size of that thing was ridiculous. Then when Toga asked how did they take out the zero pointer, Anti-Venom said that he ended up breaking both of his legs and one of his arms that he had to heal up for Deku. Toga's kind of yelled at him, saying that he had to be more careful and that doing that is completely reckless, but but doesn't get any further or violent with that. We continue over to where the entrance letters come, and All Might congratulates Deku on getting in, which, due to the craziness of the entrance exam and such, he forgot to talk to Toga and Toxin about what they sensed during the exam. So he called them, and they talked about them sensing something from the inside of UA, other symbiotes. Some of them were even inside of the exam hall where they went to get the explanation for the practical. They completely forgot about it after all that craziness with the practical exams. And then Toga mentioned that there was a second little disc inside of her envelope and asked if he had one too. He took a look and saw a white little pouch that was inside the ripped envelope, and inside was a second disc telling them to meet at UA before the school year started. Once they walked in and sensed that the same symbiotes that they felt before were inside of UA for this meeting, apparently. Same number and everything. They were met at the door with Toga and Deku meeting up with All Might for some reason. When they asked what was going on, All Might said that everything will be explained inside. So, yeah. As they go and enter into UA, All Might leads them to Principal Nezu's office, which inside the room is Principal Nezu, uh, Principal Nezu, uh, Midnight, Jiro, Momo, Ojiro, the tail quirk guy, Ibare, which is the girl with the vine hair quirk, basically. So they're in there. So they just look at each other with Principal Nezu stating, "Alright, now then, I think introductions are in order. I am Principal Nezu, and I run this school. As for why you're here, I'm pretty sure you can tell." Everyone looked at one another, though the others, the other students looked at Toga and Izuku, wondering why they're here. Which then Midnight stepped forward and introduced herself as Midnight, a member of the faculty of UA. And then from her shoulder came out a symbiote named Payback. Though not a part of the Venom family of symbiotes, so no wall crawling or web shooting, but she does have electricity manipulation, as well as flight. And introducing themselves, explaining that all the students here have a symbiote. So they go one by one introducing themselves and their symbiotes. Jiro introduced herself and her quirk earphone jack, which is a sound-based quirk, as well as her symbiote Mania, a kind of like a female version of Venom, Agent Venom, with a punk rock look to it, which suits Jiro pretty well. Which, bonding to Jiro, ended up giving Mania immunity to sound waves. Next was Ojiro, who introduced himself and his symbiote, Sickle, who they explained was a spawn of a different symbiote, who was named Riot. Visually, color-wise, the symbiote is silver with some yellow trim. So, yeah. Next was Momo Yaoyorozu, who introduced herself along with her symbiote, Sleeper, who can act as a type of organic chem lab, making all kinds of chemicals and drugs and stuff and all that inside of him. And with the combination of Momo's quirk, Momo can make a proper container, and Sleeper could make the chemical compound and things like that to put inside of it. Tranquilizer darts, tear gas, or all kinds of things. So, which is when we get to Ibarai, who, if the name's wrong, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but she introduced herself and her symbiote Scream, who, with them working together, they mostly use her symbiote, the symbiote Scream, mostly on her hair, since it can grow and extend, increasing their defensive and attack power. Then we get to Deku and Toga, who introduce themselves and their symbiotes, anti-venom and toxin, which the symbiotes did tell their host a little bit about their some of the other symbiotes, including the two that are among the strongest, anti-venom and toxin, and that they can be sensed by other symbiotes, which lets them understand why they can sense their symbiotes, because their symbiotes are immune to detection from others. So, once everybody's introduced, Nezu gets to business, and Aizawa walks in and says, "Ah, good, you're here. Now we can get to the point." Aizawa does know a little bit about the symbiotes, but he's just thinking, this is weird. So Nezu continues what he was saying, stating that there's going to be some ground rules concerning the students with symbiotes. One, you have to stay in control of yourself and your symbiote, given that symbiotes can cause different reactions to the host's emotional state. Secondly, your classmates will not be privy to the knowledge of the symbiote unless it is deemed necessary, or unless something happens that warrants them to explain what's going on. And thirdly, if your symbiotes get out of control, do what you can and must to get them back in control. They all understood and agreed. After that, they left, with the teachers talking about some things that they might have to watch out for, considering some symbiotes who were not the most well behaved had a habit of eating people's heads right off their living body, which Aizawa is just dreading having to deal with. So we continue to the first day of UA, where Toga, Deku walk in to class 1A and see that the other symbiote users, except Abarai, who is in class 1B. As for those who are questioning that, don't worry, there is a method to the madness for this. So they meet up and into the classroom, where they walk into Bakugo fighting with Ida like normal, and Ida does his normal bit with Deku, saying he's a better student, and Toga's in the same class as everyone else and nobody got dropped because, well, plot and all that, yada yada yada, special circumstances. So yeah, so we can, which is where Urakaso's up thanking Deku for saving her, which Toga asks, what is he talking about? And Deku says, I told you, remember? I saved somebody from getting crushed from a robot. Which Momo, sorry about that. I'm a little out of it, trying to get this taken care of. But Toga looks at her, thinking, Hmm. Which Toxin says, "Don't worry, you're already dating him. You don't have to worry." And Toga decides to let it go. Which then Aizawa shows up in his sleeping bag, freaking everyone out as he tells them to be quiet, complaining about it taking too long, then telling everybody to get into their gym uniforms to go to the sports field. Once they get there, everyone lines up and is told that they're going to do a physical exam of their physical capabilities. So Aizawa tosses Deku the ball and tells him, since he has a highest score from the exam in the practical, that he's going first. So he suits up, going into the more monstrous form to get more beefy for it, and charges up one for all, full on throwing the ball to the point of, let's say, 975 meters per se. I'm just ballparking this estimate or whatever for how much he can handle without breaking himself. Everyone becomes excited about using their quirks for this, which Aizawa still does his normal threat of expulsion of the person coming in last place, and everyone does do well, especially those with a symbiote, even using them for some events more than others, depending on their individual thought process. And in the end, Deku did get top, and the person who got last was Mineta, which Aizawa said that no one's going home or being kicked out. Then Momo does her typical thing, and Sleeper tells her, maybe you should have told them instead of keeping it to yourself. Then Momo just looks kind of frantic, looks a little embarrassed and says, "Oh, sorry, should I have said something?" Which everyone's thinking, yes, you should have. So we continue, and All Might was looking, as well as Midnight and Nezu, which Nezu tells Midnight, perhaps we don't have to really worry that much. It seems as though our students have a cooperative relationship with their symbiote, and it doesn't seem so far that there will be any problems in dealing with them and their symbiote. Midnight agrees, with Payback saying we should probably wait until it isn't the first day of school before coming to that conclusion. Principal Nezu says, of course, I'm just stating the first passing thought. Well, then, once the school day ended, everybody went off to go home, and Toga and Deku were leaving and got caught up with both Ida and Uraka, which they do end up asking about the Deku thing, saying that that was an old nickname that Bakugo kept calling him when he was younger and his quirk didn't awake. Though he kind of stuck with it due to the more positive aspects of it on the other translation of Deku, which is when the other students with symbiotes came up to them and they just talked. With some of the other symbiotes inside of them are keeping an eye on one another, though they don't haven't seen any reason to worry about any conflicts between themselves, so they're thinking that they're probably fine. We continue to the next day where All Might comes in stating that it's time for the Hero Course class and that it will be a combat one. Now we get to where Deku does end up being paired with Uraraka in this one and going against Bakugo and Ida. They Deku tells Uraraka to go straight for the bomb and that Bakugo would probably go straight for him. Which, once the test starts, he was right. They begin to fight, and Deku is avoiding his explosions really well using the spider sense, along with the wall crawling and such to keep a step ahead of him from his explosions. As for his hero costume, with the symbiotes, they can absorb multiple pieces of different forms of technology and armor into them to be used as a part of the symbiote for their suit. As for Deku's version, he keeps things like the metal shoes from the updated version, along with the updated version's face mask thing, plus a hood. Mix that in with the image of Agent Anti-Venom that you see in the thumbnail here. So yeah, there's that, along with some solder rocket launchers. After a while of fighting, Bakugo gets pissed and prepares to fire his gauntlet. But Deku hurries up and fires the solder rockets at Bakugo. They didn't cause enough of an explosion to warrant any serious damage, though Bakugo had to pull back from pulling the pin because it was a reflex of the threat of having one of his gauntlets blowing up while it was on his arm. In that moment, Deku was able to go in using one of the tendrils to grab Bakugo, slam him against the wall, the ceiling, and then the floor. Then back to the ceiling, webbing him with parts of anti-venom, since anti-venom has to extend himself instead of being able to produce actual webbing. So there's that. With that, Bakugo is considered captured, and Deku hurries up and goes to the bomb, where Ochako is having a similar problem as in canon. Deku hurries up and starts to attack Ida using his tendrils for mid-range attack. Ida is running with the bomb, keeping it away and dodging his attacks. Though while he was so focused on the tendrils, he didn't know Deku launched more of anti-venom as a webbing to pin one of his feet to the ground, causing him to lose his balance and fall, which gave Deku a chance to use his tendrils to catch the bomb and win the match for the heroes. As for all one that you're probably thinking of that we've seen, that was the next fight, Ojiro still gets frozen to the ground, which Sicko said, "You should really wear shoes." As Sicko breaks free of the ice that's encasing Ojiro's feet, with uh, Todoroki coming in, surprised that Ojiro's okay. Then Ojiro used Sickle to create maces on his hands and the end of his tail to try to attack, even using somewhat of a whip kind of tendril with the mace at the end to try to attack him. Todoroki found it difficult and had to use some ice pillars to block some of the attacks, but was able to get around in the way of the attacks in order to freeze a full ice wall dividing the room, with Todoroki on the same side as the bomb. Going straight for it, Ojiro tried to use Ojiro and Sickle created blades on his end of his tail, his hands, and his feet to try to cut through the ice. Unfortunately, Todoroki got to the bomb before they got through. As for everybody else with their symbiotes, Toga has a similar scheme with her as her villain costume, but the needle things are holstered at her hips instead. She has a similar mask and goes with a kind of Spider Man but girl kind of design on her costume with the coloring of red and blue, but with the toxin style thing where the red is mostly on uh, the top of the torso and the arms, with the strands coming out of where the red ends from there. And she ends up winning her match quite simply. As for the others, Jiro with Mania uses their quirk along with the symbiote in combination to store speakers to use Jiro's quirk for large sound attacks. So basically, put her hands together and create a big speaker for her headphone jacks that are coated in the symbiote, looking somewhat briar-like with spikes to fire a large sound attack. As for Momo, she has seen some images that Sleeper's shown her of memories of other heroes from the Marvel Universe, one being Black Widow. She actually, for her costume, she has support gear that resembles her Black Widow stinger with some modifications that would allow her to make a syringe in her wrist, while Sleeper made the serum for what they wanted to inject into their target. And when it came out of her body with the serum in it, it would be loaded up into the stinger, ready to fire, which is quite handy, along with its own gas mask, since Sleeper can not just make a liquid version of the drugs and such he makes, but a gas version as well. So after that, everyone gets settled. Bakugo's pissed that he got pinned to the frickin' ceiling. And uh, as everyone's leaving school, they we see Midnight and Payback talking to one another again, where they're saying maybe Principal Nezu's first thought on the first day was right. They seem like good kids, and they seem to have a good influence on their symbiotes as well. Payback says, yes, though I still worry about the other symbiotes that came with us, especially Carnage. Midnight says he's the bloodthirsty one that was strongly influenced by his first host. Payback said yes, especially when you consider his first host was a serial killer. Though, having not heard anything about him in so long, it makes me worry. The only reason Carnage would wait so long to wreak havoc is if he was planning something. Then there are the other symbiotes that we haven't run into yet. And there and the one I would have expected to run into by now. Midnight asked which one, and Payback mentioned Scorn. That she was a symbiote who identified with the good guys, heroes, and such, and saying that if she hasn't been out, if she hasn't bonded to someone yet, then it's possible that she might have been captured and is being kept alive inside a container. Then we have the other ones that could have ended up in villains like Lasser, Phase, Agony, which and Riot, which are which would be pretty bad. And if Carnage found a villain with a powerful quirk to work with, it would be even worse. Then we haven't heard anything from Venom. Midnight said Venom was the beginning of a lot of the symbiotes that our students have, right? Payback said yes, though it's actually all of them. And continues saying that she's surprised that he hasn't run into Venom as well. She's heard about Venom going through the purge of the symbiotes. That is a process symbiotes do to other symbiotes to purge the influence of corrupt hosts, stating that he did become a good hero. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look up Agent Venom Space Knight. You'll get what I mean. And then Midnight said, "Well, hopefully we'll be prepared for when and if those symbiotes that may have bonded to a villain show up. Though the prospect of a symbiote bonding to a powerful villain is not one I'm looking forward to." After that conversation, we fade into a bar room where we see a man with practically white hair, a hand on his face, and an odd collar on his neck, stating, "This collar's uncomfortable." But a voice coming from monitors says, "Well, it is a prototype, but it works perfectly for what we need it to do. It will completely conceal the symbiote's presence from the others that we've already determined that are in UA. However, it also has the side effect of not being able to allow your symbiote to sense others while that collar is on and active." Then you hear a voice saying, "Thank you for explaining everything to him, Doctor. Now then, Shigaraki, you and your new partner need to make sure to keep your bloodlust in check for now. Complete the assignment, and once everything's ready, you can run wild, both of you." Which then Shigaraki gives a devilish grin behind that hand on his face and says, with a voice that sounded like two people talking in complete unison, where they both say, "Thank you very much. We'll behave for now until it's time to tear them to shreds." And this is where we'll be ending it for this part of the What If. Hope you enjoyed. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. As for what if Asta was the avatar that I talked about uploading in the in the last video I uploaded, the Gargoyle Deku one, I'll do that later today. Thank you. Enjoy. Have a good day. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Ring the bell for notifications. And like I said in my last video, we are very close to reaching 1,000 subscribers. So if you want to keep up with with what ifs that are going on, as well as potential new what ifs that I'll be announcing them in the community portion once I get to 1,000 for filling in slots in the main lineup when one catches up to the anime. So yeah, have a good day.